Generally, I miss doing the like weird, like funny talking leading into this.
Yeah, that's not as natural. Let's see. There was something I wanted to bring up, but I forgot it already. Anyways.
Well, cool. That can be the beginning of it. Hey, everybody. Again, this week I'm quarantined from the place that we generally record it since I was exposed. That's kind of their rules and regulations. Even being exposed, they want a 2-week quarantine from it. And so we are doing another remote recording. But I think we kind of figured out a little bit better of the audio situation. So hopefully this week will sound a little bit clearer and better than last week's. But yeah, that's what's going on. So you want to take us in, Tommy?
This is Tommy.
God damn it. This is Jacob. This is Tommy and Jacob's. Yeah. All right, play the music.
This is Tommy.
Nope, where's the music's going in now?
How's it going?
Oh, it's been... I miss you.
I miss you too. But luckily, this is the last one for a minute.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Knocking on
wood.
Nothing stupid happens. No more exposure or anything. So
hopefully we'll be back to our normal scheduled programming for our next episode,
It'll be a banter
episode.
Yeah, it'll be a banter episode. But this week, as we announced last week, we are discussing the Netflix original Da 5 Bloods.
Yes, Da 5 Bloods 2020.
Yep,
it was released, when was it?
It was,
June 12th, 2020.
June 12th, 2020. It's got a 6.5 on IMDb. And just really quick, since it was a Netflix original, it didn't have any theatrical release, so there are no box office results for it.
Yeah, that's what I thought was kind of cool, is that this is our first kind of like drama and also our first Netflix original, which I really didn't even think about the box office until I started looking it up. And then I realized, this is like its own... I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it wasn't in theaters.
Yeah, exactly. I got... through Wikipedia... I saw something that I can't remember where it was. It was about like it's streaming. With it being streamed, it was like it was the number one streamed when it released during the week, and then second week I think it like dropped down to number 7th, and it's like I think it was the number 16th most streamed thing on Netflix of all of 2020. I think is what I read.
Okay.
So I think
that's cool.
Hey, note to us, definitely if we're doing another one where it's like a Netflix original, I think that's what we should do is look at it most streamed stuff of that year. Yeah,
to see. Yeah, that's a good to keep it in that kind of rating. Thing that we kind of do.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, do you want to do your 10-word synopsis really quick so people know what this movie is about? In a small way.
This week is a 15-word synopsis.
Oh, that's right.
Stop calling it
No. What do we change it to? It's Tommy's. I'm failing at words, man.
We'll think of a better name, but I think I'm just gonna write it and then count how many. So this time it's 15-word synopsis.
The TDQS, the Tommy Dallum quick synopsis.
There we go.
The
TDQS sounds like an STD though.
Well, you took it there, so...
I got a bad case of the TDQS. It burns when I pee. Group of older Vietnam vets search for hidden gold while fighting personal ghosts and each other.
Nice. I like that. Again, your synopsis is kind of like revealing a little bit of what my review will be as well.
Oh, sweet. And guys, and remember too, after this posts, a written review from both of us will be on our website, TommyandJacobsMixtape.com, under Mr. Big's Big News.
Yes.
So, just if you want a fun little read, go ahead and check that out.
It's
basically going to be a synopsis of what we talked about.
Yeah. We should also look to see if there's like a subscription thing for them to put on our website like that, for the blog. I don't know if there is. I haven't.
What do you mean?
like for them to like subscribe to like a email notification when we like post a new blog.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll check that out.
I don't, yeah, because we're learning how to do this stuff still.
Self-produced Spotify podcast.
Woo-hoo! Here we go. All right, so the movie is directed by Spike Lee, which I realized I have seen only 2 Spike Lee movies actually all the way through. And
Which ones?
Do the Right Thing and the Old Boy remake.
Okay.
Do the Right Thing is actually Do the Right Thing is actually one of my favorite movies I've ever watched.
I have not seen that one.
I mean, it's regarded one of his best movies of all time.
I'm really interested after watching this. I'm like, I kind of want to do like a fun little Spike Lee marathon because I've seen Jungle Fever.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen in forever, but I remember seeing that. Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Inside Man. I didn't even know there was an Old Boy remake.
You didn't?
No, with Josh Brolin, I was totally tripped out by that.
It is garbage.
I imagine, because you don't need to remake that movie.
No,
like,
right?
Leave it alone.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I what's really rough with it is, like, it doesn't have the same aesthetic or feel as the original Korean one does. I mean, I feel like Spike Lee did try to do a good job, but that movie was so specific for what it was, and and Elizabeth Olsen, it plays the daughter.
Oh, how's Josh Brolin in it?
I mean, both Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen do a really good job acting in it. The guy they got to play the antagonist, the rich dude, they changed the character of the rich dude into like a weird, like he's a different kind of eccentric. He's like almost like recluse, kind of almost germophobic kind of like recluse, as opposed to just like a rich dude that's kind of reclusive but like has his shit together. And I think they also took out the entire storyline of I haven't seen it in a while. I think they changed the storyline of why the rich recluse, because in the Korean one, him and his sister had an incestual relationship, and I think they took that out maybe. But that wouldn't make sense.
Weird.
But that would
that's a huge plot point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen it. But
yeah. Well, anyway, let's not talk about Old Boy because I'm pretty sure you and I could talk about Old Boy a lot. So.
Oh yeah, and then definitely I just want to add on my list that I think the next Spike Lee movie I'm gonna watch is The Black Klansman.
Yes, actually, I wanted to bring that up, but yeah, Black Klansman, which is his, he won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay or Best Adapted Screenplay. Adapted Screenplay, and got nominated for Best Directing at the Academy Awards. So I remember when it came out, I did really want to see it, and it just kind of just eventually blew over in my mind. But yeah. I mean,
like you waited too long, and then I forgot about that movie until I was doing. I was like, oh yeah, I really wanted to watch that, but just never got around to it.
Exactly. But I mean, Spike Lee has 93 directing credits. A lot of those, not a lot of them, but like he's done a lot of like music videos and like shorts and stuff. Yeah.
I think you can say there's a lot of music videos. I was like, oh, I didn't realize there's a lot more than I thought there were. Yeah. For everybody under the rainbow, basically.
Yeah, I mean, generally a lot of hip hop artists more than anything, though. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Spike Lee. That's Spike Lee. And then going into the writers, which the writing team is pretty interesting. I got some interesting info.
The whole history behind that.
Yeah, did you read that on Wikipedia as well?
Yeah, I found an article that I think I'm going to add on to our summary from vulture.com called...
Okay.
Where is it? Spike Lee's Forever War, How the Vietnam War Epic Defy Bloods Became One of the Most Ambitious Films of His Career. And it's just the story about how it basically... he became the director and the whole history of the writing team and everything. But yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I mean,
walk us through that.
So I'll just start with that first. So all I have is I just have the paragraph that's on Wikipedia, which I think is going to sum up everything you just said. So the film was originally a 2013 spec script written by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, or Mio, I don't know how to pronounce it, titled The Last Tour, with Mike Bundy and Barry Levine executive producing, with Oliver Stone set to direct. Stone dropped out in 2016, and in 2017, producer Lloyd Levin pitched the script to Spike Lee, who then performed a rewrite with Kevin Wilmot. The two changed the film to African-American perspective, added the film's flashback sequences, and expanded the role of Storm Norman character. For this research, Lee credited Wallace Terry's 1984 book, Bloods and Oral History on the Vietnam War by Black Veterans, as particularly helpful, and assigned it to the film's actors. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of interesting, too, because Spike Lee always was in an interview and explaining that he always really liked, like, war dramas growing up as a kid. But especially when he was growing up, those were all white guys that would all be the main leads in this. And he just remembered, he was quoted remembering watching some of his favorite war dramas, and his father would always say, you know, we fought in that war too. And that made him really, in his directing career, he really wanted to start doing like war drama epics like this. So it's just kind of interesting that
that's
the
really
kind of like history of.
That's interesting because like I just automatically think to like Do the Right Thing, and like how the neighborhood of that movie just kind of like falls apart, and so there's so much conflict within it that it almost it turns into a war zone in that movie in a really weird way. So that's really interesting to know that. Yeah, I don't know much about Spike Lee really. So
I don't either, but like I said, if you're listening to this, go to our website later and check out this. Like I said, I'll put the link on there. It's a really interesting article, and it gives you I'll send it, and yeah, you can read it too.
So like reading this kind of made it a little bit more interesting. It was like made more sense, I should say, for the list of writers in this movie, because when I put down, I was like Danny Bilson, Paul DeMeo, Kevin Wilmot, and then an uncredited Matthew Billingsley, which I don't understand there. I was like, Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot make sense because they wrote The Black Klansman together. And then also Kevin Wilmot also wrote it's CSA, the Confederate States of America, which
Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't, but I have been recommended it. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched it years ago.
Oh, really? Which sounds...
Confederate States... It's a mock... For those that don't know, it's Confederate States of America, and it's like a mockumentary as if the South won the Civil War and how that would change our history's trajectory.
Yeah, it's kind of a satirical documentary, right? Yeah, mockumentary is what you said.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, like because of that, instead of being on the Allied forces during World War II, we were on the axis of evil and helping Hitler, and we invited Hitler to the Olympics and as a guest, and it's like it's a real mind trip to watch. But it's really interesting, and it's like they make these actual clips, you know, of like the president sitting next to Hitler and just like chit-chatting with him and having a grand old time, and it's an interesting watch. It's weird, yeah. But I was like, oh, cool. Like,
I mean, yeah, it actually sounds really interesting. I would be really down to watch that. But what was interesting is like, because when I was looking at it, I was like, how did Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo like meet up with Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot and write this fucking weird screenplay? How did the screenplay happen? To find out that it was originally a Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo screenplay, and then Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot kind of took their own turn with it. I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Especially because Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo worked together on a bunch of different things. So, like, biggest ones that I noticed was, like, Rocketeer. And then a bunch of television and video games. And then I saw they created this franchise that has a ridiculous amount of sequels called Trancers. That sounds so bad that I really want to watch.
What is Trancers?
It's like a guy that travels through time trying to kill aliens.
Oh, sounds right up your alley.
Yeah.
I also was blown away that Danny and Paul they did a lot of video games.
Yeah, there's a lot of video games. A lot of video games.
Like James Bond ones.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's a. I didn't realize there was that many James Bond games.
I mean, because they like made one for like each James Bond movie after GoldenEye, didn't they?
Yeah, this is what it looks like. I don't really remember the titles of Bond movies well enough, but it looked like that. And also, I went ahead and added Rocketeer to our list because I haven't watched that since I was like 8 years old.
Oh yeah,
so.
not since I was a child. I used to have a Rocketeer T-shirt, and
really?
It was It was my favorite shirt when I was in the first grade.
Rocketeer was coolly designed. He looked cool.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about Rocketeer in another episode.
I think he's come up. I feel like he has.
Yeah. So. This movie seemed to have like a pretty interesting like pre-production stuff going on. Even like the casting, I got interesting like with stuff. It's like originally like the initial cast was supposed to be like Samuel L. Jackson, Denzel Washington, Giancarlo Esposito, John David Washington, and literally all of them dropped out in the process of all of this and whatnot.
Well, it's actually like with that too is like with the amount of people that did drop out, even what you were saying earlier about like Oliver Stone and the fact that this movie even came out at all is kind of crazy because of how many people were just pulling out. Like Oliver Stone was in development for 2 years.
Yeah. And
then decided, nah.
Well, because
it
sounds like it was going to be like a really big war, like almost kind of like I guess it wouldn't have been a war epic. But I don't know. I would be really interested to see what the original script that Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo had.
Yeah, that would be cool to like get our hands on and just like read it and see what the actual differences are.
I mean, I will say I'm pretty sure it's nowhere near as good or impactful as what Spike Lee had created, but it would be interesting to see.
True. Yeah. It's just good to have the reference point, especially because for you and I too, we're so interested in the whole screenplay writing thing that it'd just be kind of cool to see them side by side and be like, oh, okay.
So yeah, the cast. I don't really want to get too much. It's a really big cast. I really feel like the most like the ones that I recognize the most. Obviously, was Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever, bud. This was it was one of his last film roles of all that he was able to. It was the first one released posthumously. I can't say that word.
I think this.
No.
I think this is the last one.
Yeah, no, this is the last one that came out while he was still alive. Because I think
he was battling cancer.
Yeah, Mal Rainey's Black Bottom. That's the one that that came out. Yeah. And then Delroy Lindo, who plays Paul, I recognize him primarily from like Gone in 60 Seconds as the cop.
I was gonna say from everything.
He is in quite a bit of stuff, but mainly whenever I see Delroy Lindo, I immediately think of Gone in 60 Seconds, because he's the cop detective that's going after Nicolas Cage. With Timothy Olyphant. And then also...
Oh my god, my boyfriend. I fucking love that dude.
And he's also in Sahara as the inside guy that Matthew McConaughey's character's got.
Yeah, did we ever release that episode?
I don't know. I don't think we ever should release that episode. It's over 2 hours long. It was talking about a 2 hour long movie.
Oh yeah, we got really. That'd be fun. Let us know if you guys want a 2 hour episode.
Bonus content.
Bonus content. I recognized him from Malcolm X.
Which
Congo.
Oh wait, he's in Congo.
Yeah. Get Shorty.
I haven't seen Get Shorty actually.
The one with Jet Li, which holy shit, you want to do a bad movie? We should do that one.
I didn't look at his IMDb list that good. I've seen the one. I think you bought
the one that I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that really stuck out that I think that I want to add to our list, just because I remember really liking it, is, do you ever see The Last Castle?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's like it's a prison, like a military prison drama with, what's the guy's name that plays Tony Soprano?
Oh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
But he's like the warden, aka bad guy.
Okay.
And I just remember that being really interesting. I think we should watch that for like another kind of like drama. But anyways, moving on. Oh, and Domino. Huh, cool. Yeah. So
then,
that's Delroy Lindo.
And then Isiah Whitlock. I mainly recognize him from like, I haven't seen a lot of The Wire, but like I recognize like people from The Wire. And there's a really awesome Wire callback in this movie with Isiah Whitlock. The shit.
That was funny.
Yeah, so Isiah Whitlock, he kind of like put saying shit like that, like on the map in like in a hilarious way, because that's what his character in The Wire would like respond to shit like that. He'd be like, shit, but that like just found a weird way to express the word shit that had a lot of power to it. I also recognized him from the weird comedy movie Cedar Rapids with Ed Helms.
I never saw that. It looked familiar, but I never saw it.
It is fucking weird. It's the only way I can really put it. But then he also has like there's another joke in that movie with Isiah Whitlock doing an Omar impression from The Wire. Like The Wire will forever follow Isiah Whitlock's career, I believe.
Okay.
But he's also in the Black Klansman as well.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of kind of with Lee that he likes to use a lot of like people that he's worked with before and clearly must have a relationship with. Oh yeah,
definitely. And then the last one that was kind of like really recognizable to me was Jean Reno, or Jean, I should say, Jean Reno, or is it? I don't know if it's Jean Reno or Jean Reno, but Leon the Professional. He's the bad. He's the French guy. That's the bad guy of the movie, really.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't seen Leon the Professional, then I recommend seeing Leon the Professional.
And then
those were yeah.
It was, and then one that gentleman that popped out to me really hard too was Jonathan Majors. He plays David.
I didn't recognize him for anything.
Because you haven't watched Lovecraft Country yet.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah, that would
that was my first.
That would make sense.
Introduction to him.
Okay, cool.
And I really like him. I think he has a lot of like really good potential. I want to definitely see him in more stuff.
Yeah, he's really good. Like him, I really think like the standout performances from this movie were definitely Delroy Lindo, Jonathan Majors, and Clarke Peters.
I think Clarke Peters was my favorite character in this as Otis. Yeah. I really liked Otis a lot.
I liked Otis a lot too because he was kind of like he was the level ground for everybody, But honestly,
yeah, he was. Yeah,
I was so intrigued by Paul Delroy Lindo's character. He was probably my favorite character to watch, and I think that might partially be due to Delroy Lindo really like steals this movie with his performance. He is so fucking good, committed, grounded, powerful, scary at some points. He is so good. He was such a great casting for this role too, which makes me wonder, out of the original casting, who the fuck was gonna play who?
Yeah.
I really think.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of sense, I really think it was gonna be. Samuel L. Jackson would have been Paul. Denzel Washington would have been Otis. And then what is it? Or maybe Giancarlo Esposito would have been Otis.
I don't know. That's hard.
I definitely feel like Samuel.
I feel like Denzel Washington even.
I definitely feel.
I'm looking at the cast list right now, and it looks that's a hard trying to like swap them.
I really do think that Samuel L. Jackson would have been cast as Paul.
Well, he said motherfucker enough. That was like majority of what he said in that movie. But yeah, so just to like I know we already kind of gave you the overview, but yeah, so if the story follows Paul, Otis, Eddie, and Melvin, and they are all vets from the Vietnam War that have met up again in Vietnam in their older age.
Yeah, I got some of this in my review actually. So if we want to, if you want to move into review, if you want to move into the reviews that you found, then I'll move into my review.
Okay. So, I like usual, I just got two little snippets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna butcher this last name, and I apologize. But so from the New York Post, we have Johnny Olekinski. Spike Lee's gutsy new Netflix drama, and I'm just saying this on my own. This is actually his very first Netflix film, which is kind of fun to have all these firsts. But Lee's gutsy new Netflix drama, Defy Blood, sets you up and knocks you down.
Okay.
Then Adam Holes and Plugged In. Spike Lee's Defy Bloods can be uplifting and hard to stomach at the same time.
Those are so fucking vague, and like this movie has so much in it. Man, I know you're just trying to find snippets out of those out of the reviews, but like, I mean, those are both very poignant. So, I should.
But that's
yeah.
I left them vague too, especially because this is one of those rare instances, and I say rare instances of a movie that you and I have never seen.
Yeah, okay. Which actually was
Go
ahead. It was actually interesting taking notes through this one because I found I only wrote like 4 notes because I was just captivated in watching the movie.
Yeah, I had the same problem. I was like, I literally don't know. Like, if I had to rewind it a bunch. If I look down to write something, I looked up and I'm like, wait. What the hell just happened? Like, rewind. Like,
when we're rewatching a movie, like we can like take our eyes off the television screen for a second, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So I kept them kind of vague, but then once I watched it, these reviews made more sense to me.
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah, there's some crazy violent scenes in this movie. Yeah.
But you go into yours and then let's kind of like dissect it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So, in the modern time where racial tension and civil unrest feel at their peak, Spike Lee offers us the extremely relevant Defy Bloods, a story about 4 black Vietnam War vets returning to Vietnam to find the remains of their fallen brother and the gold they buried for themselves to come back for. In the opening of the movie, we're presented with snippets of past media. The protests of the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement are juxtaposed to the atrocities of war happening in Vietnam. Spike Lee shows us that war can have many different faces. From there, we enter the narrative of the movie, existing primarily in modern-day Vietnam. We go on an expedition with Paul, Otis, Eddie, Melvin, and David, the non-veteran son of Paul. The movie takes us on quite the journey finding the gold, finding the remains of Norman, a minefield, and mainly the inner conflict within the group. Which brings me to what I believe this movie is truly about: the connections we share or sever from individuals or communities. There are large themes of brotherhood and the want for retribution with the 5 men traveling together, but also a sense of distrust and betrayal, very much symbolized by Paul, who even wears a MAGA hat with pride. In the end, with the money from the gold, the movie gives recompense to the people and groups they find are marginalized, giving us a message of hope that we can possibly rise out of this time of tension if we can only look out for one another, like a brother soldier in the throes of war.
I like how you brought back to like Paul, because he is both like the driving force and also the conflict.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It's like that entire that MAGA hat and like just the fact of him being someone who would be a Trump supporter and believe in that rhetoric and the rhetoric of the far right and the way that it seems that he believes his character itself is just kind of like is a metaphor through the entire movie, is a statement, and that mega hat lived like it because like I give Spike Lee so much credit to taking that MAGA hat and making it have such a like a different meaning. Like it has it because of the meaning it has. It becomes such a powerful piece in the movie, a powerful statement of just that piece of clothing, and then like how like it's so good, like what it represents, and just like how like this movie in a sense is also the representation of America in this, you know, how America is like viewed right now, you know.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you know, you're jumping back to the Vietnam War era where it was the civil rights movement and civil unrest and a war going on, a war going on at home, and then a war going on across seas. And I think that's also why I think Vietnam specifically is a very hard era to make a movie about, like specifically this war, because you really have to show the ugly like side of things of what was really going on.
Yeah.
Because in like a weird way, if you do a World War II movie, there's this almost kind of like romanticized vision of it, of good versus evil.
Yeah, the Allies versus the Axis and whatnot.
Yeah, it really has that, like, you can really, you know, like...
Well, I mean, the Vietnam War was the first time that Americans started to distrust their government in a lot of ways. You know, through the post World War II, and then, like, the whole scare of communism being forced into America, and then all of a sudden the Vietnam War happening, and really... America just not understanding why we're going over to Vietnam, which, I mean, we had no reason to go over there other than just for political moves and whatnot, and which I don't know that much. I don't know a lot about the Vietnam War, but like I definitely, with my knowledge of like going through the whole Red Scare in America, I do have a knowledge of like how Americans started to distrust their government because of the Vietnam War, and then where was I going with that? My brain just like shut down. Yeah, because like you were saying, it's like, repeat what you had just said. Actually, I want to see if that'll jog my memory.
No, just the fact that it's like what you're saying with the whole the people started to buckle down and stop showing trust to their government.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't this black and white thing that was the being shown people like, oh, in World War II, this bad guy, we got to stop him. But in this one, it became, why are we there?
Yeah, and even like
it was a bloodbath. You know?
Yeah. Because like it's really like the nuances of war became kind of like more apparent to the general public. Because even like there's even that moment with Paul and Rochester, Jean Reno's character, the French guy.
Oh yeah.
Where he's talking about how, like, Paul's bringing up how Americans saved the French in World War II. And he's like, oh yeah? Did they? Tell me more, like, and he kind of has, like, a couple of stabs about, like, what was really happening in France and whatnot.
He says, he like, very poignantly says, thank you very much for your one-sided, ignorant American view on World War II. And it's like, good day. I was like, oh, a little. But yeah, I mean... And that's why, like, and that's just the thing is, like, I think that to make a Vietnam movie, you really need to show in this context, like, you can't romanticize it, you know?
No.
Like, you have video games of, like, Nazi zombies, and it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna go kill the Nazis. It's like, well, Vietnam is a way more...
Yeah, you're not gonna... There's not gonna be a video game.
Nazi Viet Cong. Like,
oh my god. Could you imagine, like, Oh my god, could you imagine if video games existed in the 70s?
But you know what I mean? It's and I'm not saying World War II wasn't complicated. It obviously was.
Yeah.
But in American standards, what was happening on both fronts, this is a very complicated topic to put into a movie like format. And I think that, yeah, I guess that was mine. I think it's just a very hard topic to really nail, because with the World War II thing, you can just make the good guys win because but there was so much loss on both sides, and it was such a negative thing that I don't know. It's just a tricky topic.
No, 100%. One of the things that I really think Spike Lee did a really good job with in it, though, is bringing up like how the media has represented like the Vietnam vet, like Rambo. He brings up Rambo in another movie, and like what you were saying, like when you were talking about Spike Lee watching war movies growing up, and his father saying like, you know, we were in that war too. When they're walking through the nighttime in Vietnam, in the modern time, and they're kind of bringing up like those idolized characters like Rambo. I can't think of another one that they brought up. Maybe they brought up Deer Hunter. I don't now, maybe not. But like Isiah Whitlock's character, I can't remember, Melvin.
I think it was Texas.
Walker Texas Ranger. Thank you. Yeah, Chuck Norris.
That's it. Yeah.
Melvin is like, man, it's like, you know, we were in that, like he's saying that, he's like, we were in that war too, like where's our representation type thing. And then he's like, and then Paul's like, dude, I fucking like, that's my shit, like don't talk bad about that stuff. Rambo, that shit's fucking good, I like that. And it starts that like juxtaposition of their point of views of the war and whatnot, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, even like what you're saying too with the Make America Great.
Yeah, the MAGA hat.
What is that when you first really, like when you first meet these characters, they're meeting up at the hotel and it's all buddy, haven't seen you in so long, hugs, love, all that kind of stuff. But then progresses to them at a bar and they are chit-chatting, and this is where you kind of get that first, like, in that scene is the first moment I was like, oh, Paul is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
In this situation, because they bring up voting for Trump, and he's like, yeah, of course I fucking did, like, and I'm not ashamed of it. And then also leads into two older Vietnamese men sitting at another table staring at them, and Paul getting this kind of like, why are they looking at me?
Yeah.
Aggression kind of building, and all the other guys are like, dude, like, come on, it's cool, like, you're fine, like, everything's okay here. And this is just where you kind of see that Paul has some serious, like, PTSD, anger issues. Mm-hmm. And being back in Vietnam probably isn't the best place for him to be.
Probably not the best place for any of those men, to be honest with you, but
yeah.
All right, so do you want to just kind of start like moving through the movie and like see what we get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, let's start there.
I mean, we pretty much like kind of cover the. Well, I mean, I guess in my review, I briefly mentioned the opening of the movie is a really good montage of like what was happening, like in America and like in Vietnam at that time, like
with protests and
protests
that was
in the
really
war.
Cool.
Yeah, with a opening with a Marvin Gaye song, very fitting. Dude, the Marvin Gaye soundtrack, the Marvin Gaye songs used in this were fucking on point.
Yeah.
So on point.
Well, because even there was one where there was one, I think it was "What's Going On."
Oh yeah.
And it was just the vocals.
Was that the song?
I think that was. I meant to write it down, but I forgot to. But yeah, there's a point where there's a Marvin Gaye song playing and it's just the vocals.
Yeah,
and
just a cappella. Yeah.
It was, and I was like.
It was haunting.
Really I was like, this is a really cool like shot. Also, because Marvin Gaye's just phenomenal. So I was just like, oh, I forgot how much I love Marvin Gaye. But yeah, so I mean, like, so yeah, the point of this movie is that they're all older. They all have their own issues within their life. It really focuses mainly on, I want to say, Otis and Paul are like the two of the older guys that they really give a lot of character development to.
Yeah, well, there's a good amount of character development with David as well.
Yeah, but I think it would just be down the four older, the actual vets. Yeah. But yeah, the driving force is that they're trying to go back to get Storm and Norman's body that they had to bury because he had died in a gunfight, and then also to smuggle the gold that this gold, and also this gold they found was a payment from the U.S. government
to the Viet Cong.
To the Viet Cong, and the plane had crashed. They found it, and Storm and Norman convinces them that, because their mission is to go collect this and return it.
Mm-hmm.
But then Storm and Norman convinces them, like, no, like, we're over here fighting basically for rights that are not given to us. They owe us this.
Yeah.
So we're going to hide it.
Yeah.
And that's like the driving force of why they hide it.
Yeah,
it's not just like random gold that they found, like,
that's important to bring up. Yeah, because there's which is why I wanted to bring up like where the gold was being used at the end of the movie, because it's very important. Like especially like through the movie, once they get the gold, it kind of like turns into kind of a debate. Is like, should this gold just belong to them, or should it go back to black communities and like to the people that have sacrificed for the country that are overlooked and whatnot, you know?
Yeah, and that was Storm and Norman's plan. Mm-hmm. But Paul and... Who wants to keep it? Paul and...
No,
is it Melvin?
Paul and... Melvin. Yeah, Melvin brings up that he would keep it as well. But Melvin kind of seems to be on the fence the entire movie. Like, Eddie...
Yeah, Paul's like 100% like, mine, you're not touching it.
Eddie is the one that kind of really brings up first and foremost, like that's what Storm and Norman meant, was that for this to go back to our people, you know, and
not in our pockets.
And then Otis is kind of like, I guess that's right, you know, and then Melvin's like, I'm taking the money, and then Paul's like, you motherfucker, touch my money, and I will I will stab you.
And it's also like, my biggest complaint kind of about this movie is that I just kind of felt like it didn't really know. It was like 3 different movies kind of put into one. And it didn't really like nail it for me, because then so it's like you're talking about, you have the whole flashback. Oh, and real quick, just on a side note that I thought was really cool, Spike Lee didn't cast other actors to play them young.
No, yeah, that was really cool. He
just got to say they're remembering.
Yeah, it's like the flashback sequence is them as their older selves remembering again, like living through it again, essentially.
Yeah, and then Chadwick is young because he had already died, so in their mind's eye, he looks that way.
Yeah, he was their commander, their squad captain, sergeant, or
Yeah, their squad captain. I think he was just... let's go squad captain. I can't remember. But I just thought that was really cool. And just more interesting than, like, trying to find actors. Either trying to find actors that look like them when they were younger, or do, like, some kind of CG makeup thing. I was like, cool. Use them.
Oh, yeah, because even, like, the pictures that they show a couple of pictures of, it would be them, like, when they were younger. And some of those pictures are kind of rough. It's like, you can definitely tell that they got, like, makeup on to make them look younger.
Yeah, and it's just like that doesn't... A lot of the time, that just doesn't pan out very well, and it comes out looking cheesy. So it was like, okay, cool. Like...
So, like, kind of setting up more with, like, the story of it. So, yeah, they have their bar, their drinks at the bar, kind of, like, setting up that kind of, like, racial tension that still kind of exists with, GIs and Vietnam, and the Vietnamese. And then there was that fucking one-legged kid with the fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
When he...
like, ooh.
Yeah. I know this scene's meant to, like, kind of, like, it's serious, but it's kind of meant to be kind of like a chuckle when like the kid throws the fireworks and they all hit the ground, you know. But it's also very real that that's where their mind is at, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what it's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of what it's trying to do. It's trying to be like, oh, haha, he scared them, but then you realize, oh no, they are just conditioned to take cover.
Yeah.
Because of their time in the military.
Yeah.
So it's at first you're like, oh, you're like, oh.
And then on top of that, they're back in Vietnam. You know?
Yeah, so it's like that was like, it's like, oh well, that's gonna cause something, you know, in you.
But then Otis goes off to meet with Tien, an old Vietnamese flame of his, because she's helping him. She's going to help him smuggle the gold that they find out of the country.
Because she's like her business is international exports, so she has all like the ins and outs of how to smuggle shit, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're going to smuggle his gold out of the country. But obviously, she sets him up with. I'm going to see if I can find the name now.
I got it right here. I just don't know how to say it.
As soon as I see it, I'll know how to say it. Desroches.
Yeah, Mr. Desroches, who is a French. Basically, is like he's a French guy that seems like he has a similar job as her, except he is more of the black market illegal side.
Yeah. And he's like, his biggest thing is that he wants to know who he's doing business with, blah, blah, blah. Spoiler alert, he's got people following them the entire time, and he's going to fucking take their money. Or take the gold from them. He's going to kill them. He's going to kill them all. Because he don't care. Anywho.
He don't care.
And you kind of get like a little, never mind. So continuing forward, then you find out that David has followed his father Paul to Vietnam, and then they kind of have a loving, quote unquote, loving conversation.
What are you talking about? Did we watch the same movie?
That's how you show love, with hatred.
Yeah, like David's basically blackmailing him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
also, that goddamn scene, like following, where he's like, "I'm coming with you," and then just like how the camera angles, like it's like David just kind of like the camera angle's just like a little bit higher on him to make him look like a little kid with his like orange, with his mimosa, and like all four of the fucking like older men just like staring at him like, "What the fuck do you think you're doing? God, what? God damn it, you fucking." Fuck.
Yeah, that was really cool. The camera angles and like there were some pretty good ones in this.
I also really appreciated like how when it did do the flashbacks, how like it would go from like the wide screen to like the black coming in on the side to like making it more like the box letter box or like like
yeah, it was like 13.7 millimeter film. I can't remember exactly what it's something like that, but basically what. If in that time frame you were watching TV, that's how you would see it. And that was what gave it, let you know, oh, here comes a flashback. And I was like, that's cool. That's right. They didn't make it like black and white or,
Yeah. Oh, there's no reason to make it black and white. They made it a little, with the, whatever film that they shot it on, it was definitely, it had just a little bit more like that gritty look, that old school. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a little more like green yellow.
Yeah.
Hue to it. Yeah.
And the actual like war scenes were really good. Like, like when anytime like the gun violence came up, it was really like tense and really well shot and really well executed.
The only thing that, and if someone knows the answer to this, they did that classic shoot off the lock thing.
Oh, like not really like counting like the amount of like bullets that are getting used. Like, what do you mean?
No, like, I don't think you can. Like, if you take a handgun and you shoot it at a lock, I think it's just going to ricochet.
Oh, that's what you said. I mean, it depends on the lock. I mean...
But it's like, a lock, that's probably like a pure piece of, like, iron, like, lock. I remember reading somewhere, I don't know if that's true, but I thought you couldn't do that.
Well, maybe
you're just gonna end up probably shooting yourself in the leg. It's just gonna ricochet back to you, or to who's ever standing next to you.
I mean, that's also why he said clear and like kind of stood away from it. And,
true.
And then also,
and he did shoot he shot right down on it too.
Yeah.
Like he didn't shoot it.
It was more of like it was like the force of the bullet going down is gonna like destroy the lock.
What pop? Yeah, like popped it open. Okay. Well.
Mythbusters. That's what we do now.
This is another podcast.
So then it's kind of like jumping forward a little bit. They start traveling through Vietnam. They get to a bar, which is kind of more like in a village as opposed to like in the main city. That's where David meets up with the girl who's part of LAM, the Love Against Minds and Violence or something.
Heidi.
Heidi, yeah.
Heidi, who is played by a French actress that has a pretty good amount of credits, but I haven't seen a shit ton of French movies, so I didn't really recognize it.
I didn't recognize her within it, yeah. And
Melanie Theory. Melanie Theory. That's my American way of saying it.
Oh, what was the scene that towards
Melanie.
What was that scene at the end when Melvin's talking to her and he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to go to France and you can show me the Champs-Élysées."
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "What the fuck are you saying?"
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
I can't pronounce the fucking French word that he was trying to say. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's when David meets her, and then kind of like her like little crew of that, like their whole like thing is to go out into the wild in the jungle of Vietnam and find landmines and disarm them and take care get rid of them.
I totally forgot that was still a thing.
That people still do that, or that there's still landmines everywhere.
Yeah, I knew it was one of those things that I knew, and I just had forgotten about it until they brought it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's like totally a thing that like a lot of countries have to deal with." And I was like, "Oh, weird, yeah,
yeah."
But yeah,
aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
All right, so that kind of like I feel like at that point, all the characters are set up at that point, you know. Oh yeah, there's also the Vietnamese guide that they have as well, Vin, who met them at the bar in the city and whatnot. Yeah. And so I mean, then they just kind of like go through the jungle, yell at each other, find gold. I'm kind of like underselling it.
Well, that's like, yeah, but I mean, like that's kind of like that's kind of what part of my complaint was with this movie. Like I know I was saying like the three different things because you have like the. Not coming of age, but I guess it is still like coming of age. They're older and they're coming to terms with their past. I
feel like it's more coming to terms. I think is the better phrase than coming of age.
So it's like they're coming to terms with their past. You have that whole thing going on. Then you have this treasure hunt motif where they start to like kind of. Tensions start to kind of rise because money changes people, and then you have the conflict of what they want to do with the money, and then you have Paul, who is dealing with his PTSD and his own
psychological problems.
Yeah, and I was gonna say PTSD, with his his distrust of Vietnamese people. He even gets into an argument with a guy trying to sell him chickens.
Yeah.
So you have that whole stuff. I just felt like it kind of felt like there was a lot of stuff going on, but also the movie felt really long to me.
That was an interesting thing. Is like, it's a 2.5 hour long movie. I would say it definitely feels like 2.5 hours, and it felt slow, but it also felt paced. Like, I never really felt like I had the desire to really like check out of the movie. I was captivated through it all, but it definitely didn't feel like it was going super fast.
Well, I even like wrote here too is like at an hour and 44 minutes is when that's when shit starts to get real.
Yeah. Oh, is that when they find the landmines and Eddie gets blown up?
Well, like, no, I guess then it should be earlier, but it's like, this is when it comes to terms that Paul's paranoia about not trusting the Frenchman is like, oh shit, he was right the entire time. And that's when
that's when they already have the lamb people tied up.
Yeah, this is after they like finally come out of the forest and they meet with Vin again, and then they have the whole conversation about what happened to Eddie, and then right after that the guys with the AK show up.
Yeah. So
that whole thing.
Yeah, to kind of like go back, like I definitely want to like Spike Lee does a really good job of like setting up. The writers, I should say, because I don't know if this was Spike Lee. This could have been in the original screenplay. Setting up like these series of conflicts. So like it's clear that when Tien gives Otis that gun, that's going to be a problem. That's right there saying there's going to be conflict, and that gun's going to have to get used now at some point. You know.
Well, she even says gold changes people.
Yeah, exactly. But like as soon as like the term Chekhov's gun, and I remember. Do you remember me explaining that to you?
Yeah. Okay. You mean the few times you have?
That's why now I'm just asking if maybe I'll remember now that you remember it, so I don't have to fucking say that anymore. So Chekhov's gun, you present a gun, the gun must be used. So then when I see that, I'm like, fuck, dude. So is it going to be an actual like all-out war that happens, or is this just going to be like them fucking picking each other off, like going insane, going through their own PTSD and shit. And then when David meets the Lamb girl, and she's talking about like disarming landmines, I'm like, oh fuck, dude, they're gonna walk through a minefield. When's that gonna happen? So like every time they're like when they were like first digging up the gold, and Melvin's like, there's more over here, I'm like, fuck, dude, when is he gonna step on one? When's it gonna happen?
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, oh no, and I like him too. I'm like, no, Melvin, stop.
No, and then of course it's like that. Yeah, no. Then when Eddie fucking gets blown to fucking bits, that's when I feel.
Did you also think it was weird that David didn't bring that up?
No, he's a young stupid kid.
It's like you meet a woman and her job is literally to go around and defuse mines that were forgotten from the war. Wouldn't you be like, hey, we might want to be careful if we're going to be digging around? I
mean, to be honest with you, they're probably aware of that. They were in Vietnam. They know there were landmines. They don't know where the minefields are, but yeah,
that's true. That's fair. Yeah, and then when that whole finding the gold and it didn't happen, I completely forgot about it until Eddie is having his freak out but weirdly walking backwards thing. I went, oh, this is when it's gonna happen. Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was kind of predictable, knowing like the setup of everything, but it's still satisfying. Especially like wasn't expecting David to step on one, and dude, that was so tense. Putting the rope around him, that was really
a good scene.
Yeah. And like cool. It's also at that like really awesome moment, like when David and Paul have actually kind of like rekindled a father-son like relationship of some sort already.
Yeah.
And like there was definitely like, oh man, yeah, very powerful scene. And then yeah, of course, like then Paul like has the gun now, and this is kind of like the Chekhov's. This is kind of like almost more like the Chekhov's gun moment that I think is more fitting, as opposed to just like using the gun to kill somebody. Is now that Paul has the gun, the one that's the most unstable, the one that's more has the far right set of mind, is now the one in power, which I think is it's strangely symbolic as well with everything that's happening. It's like now the man with the gun is the one that shouldn't have the power right now, the one that has the strangest belief, the most far right beliefs.
Yeah, like I thought I was like, as soon as David handed him the gun, I was like, that's probably not the best idea, but okay, well, it's definitely gonna get the plot going.
Well, I mean, it was kind of like Otis's only way of like getting Paul to like trust him again,
Yeah, that's true.
Because like Paul immediately is thinking Otis is gonna like betray everyone, with Tien, and he's in cahoots with Desroches.
Right. Yeah, so Otis becomes like the enemy because he's like, obviously you're working with them against me.
Yeah.
And that's what they do a good like kind of job of like making him paranoid enough that you start to kind of discredit him. And then there's that moment of like, oh shit, he was totally right. Whoopsies. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah. But then, okay, so then going in, like, when you're saying, like the next point when things, like, become, like, set into motion again, super hardcore, is when they meet up with Vin, and then the men that are hired by Delroy, clearly, they're not actually police officers, show up. And then, then, like, another, like, war scene happens, like, the shootout happens, I should say. David gets shot, and Paul just kind of fucking has a breakdown and walks, like, he's telling them that we need to, like, stand up and, like, go to this river, and Vinner was like, no, we need to, like, we'll just, like, fuck it, let's go to this temple, and we'll figure out defenses there or whatever. And Paul just doesn't his, like, distrust for the Vietnamese won't allow him to do that at all, because Vin. And Vin,
also, it's like he's over David too. He feels that David has betrayed him, and he no longer has the son. So he's like, screw him. I don't care if he's hurt. Like, his main focus is the gold.
Yeah.
At this point,
and it's clear that he's off his rocker. Like, this is where Delroy Lindo's like acting fucking goes, like, just becomes so much more phenomenal. Like, he starts to steal the fucking show. Like, as he's, like, walking through the jungle, and he's talking to himself, and he's just muttering nonsense, but muttering clear thoughts.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, so, like, he's all sweaty from being, in Vietnam, so he's got this, like, drenched shirt, and he's got this wide-eyed, panty, sweaty look to him. And they do that cool shot of just his face,
where he's like
talking to himself in the third person.
Yeah, and breaking the fourth wall too. He's like looking into the camera every once in a while.
Yeah, he's like talking to you.
Yeah,
like, they're not gonna get Paul, motherfucker. They're not gonna get Paul. This is my motherfucking shit, man. This is Paul shit. You're like, you're okay. You're all right. That's where you're at. Great.
But
it was cool. That was another one of those, like, cool shots that I was like, oh, this is... At first I was, like, weird about it, but then when it starts to set in and really show you how unnerved it is, it becomes really unsettling that he's staring directly at you. I was like, this is cool. This is a cool shot. So,
like, let's just, like, clear up Paul's arc really quick. Because, like, I don't want to keep jumping back and forth between all that. So... Delroy's people end up, like, hunting, like, track down Paul. But while Paul's going, he gets bit by a snake. He, like, falls down a ravine a little bit and loses his gold. And the snake venom's really, like, fucking with him. His arc kind of, like, finishes when he starts his hallucination of seeing Storm and Norman.
Oh, yeah.
And then Storm and Norman reveals the bullet wound in his gut that killed him. And then you see finally, because you've known through the movie that Paul was the last one to see Storm and Norman alive. And
yeah,
Paul's...
and it also kind of, like, Paul has this very strong connection to Norman, and they don't explain really why. You know that he followed him and really trusted his leadership, but of his death, Paul is the one that is more stricken with grief over it than the other three. Like, he is, like, even at when they're on the boat, he's like, his ghost talks to me at night. He comes to me at night. Do you get that? Do you see Norman at night? Because I do. Yeah. And it's like wakes up screaming his name and having nightmares about him. And then it's revealed that Paul accidentally shot Norman in the gut as one of the Vietnamese soldiers was sneaking in behind them on the plane that was broken down or crashed. He just gets spooked and quickly just turns around and just fires his gun like wildfire, takes out the Vietnamese soldier, but then accidentally shoots Norman. So that's what he's grief-stricken with, is the fact that he killed his brother. Yeah. And killed his brother, killed his leader, killed his friend, like... Yeah. one shot changed a whole lot of stuff for him.
Yeah, and it's Norman. This like he's being visited by Norman. It's Norman embracing him and saying it's okay, like I forgive you. Which I mean is more of like Paul accepting in himself what he had done and knowing that there was no other like it was just an accident. There's no other way to get around it. There's no reason to like hold yourself accountable for it anymore, especially as he's facing death. He's embracing what he has done as he's beginning to embrace his mortality.
Mortality.
Yeah. And then it cuts to him fucking digging his own grave.
Yeah.
Which then I felt there was like a strange, like, symbolic thing of a man wearing a MAGA hat digging his own grave at gunpoint. Like,
I didn't think of that.
There was just something very, very symbolic about that to me. Especially since that's when the MAGA hat its symbolic meaning begins to take a new meaning. Because when they kill Paul, they shoot Paul, the guy takes the MAGA hat and then gives it to DeRoche. And then DeRoche is wearing it at the end of the movie.
Yeah, kind of almost in like a pompous, clear message of I killed your friend.
Yeah, and then also like he's probably like associating all of the other guys as probably like MAGA people as well in some way, shape, or form, because when you have a friend that you're just gonna walk around with your friend that has a MAGA hat, people are gonna automatically assume you're a fucking MAGA person too.
Yeah, friends by association or guilty by association.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean.
So that's kind of like completes Paul's arc, which I don't know. His character was one of the most intriguing of the movie and my favorite just for to watch.
Yeah, he was definitely especially when he was having one of his like moments, quote unquote. He definitely stole a lot of screen. He was very captivating.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that, Delroy Lindo's presence just really like got it. Like it was just really good, really, really great performance. I hope there's some type of nomination for him.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to Otis and Melvin and David and the Lamb people and Vin, and they're setting up camp at a temple and getting ready to go 4 on 50.
Yeah. And this is like I don't want to say like second action sequence.
It's like a third or fourth. Because
this is the final.
Yeah, it's the final.
This is the finale of the film.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many it is. But yeah, so basically just a firefight in.
They try to fool DeRoche. They're planning on keeping the gold, but they like bring out a backpack full of rocks. So
yeah,
like they try to pull a fast one. They know it's not going to work, but
yeah, because then he immediately shoots the guy holding the bag, and then the gunfight ensues, and they do pretty good for themselves.
Yeah, but it does end with everyone dying except for David and
Otis.
I thought Otis did. Did Otis? I thought Otis did die.
Otis lives.
Was he alive at the end of it? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He was.
Melvin sacrifices himself to stop a grenade.
Yes, which is also kind of a good setup, because earlier on in the movie he was like, I would never fucking do that for any of you people.
Yeah.
But like that's
Otis
also
does get shot.
That's right. Yeah, he does get shot.
But then so David, Otis, Heidi, and then the other
Simon
Lamb guy, Simon. They all live. And then really like this part kind of felt, the ending kind of felt rushed, because all this happens and then it just kind of quickly goes through what the money was used for.
Which I feel like I mean, not really rushed. I mean, it gave the main story of the movie is done. They now have their gold. They're going back to America with it. A lot of them died. What left is there, and then other than just see the flashbacks of what they do with the money, and then the homage to all of their fallen brothers.
Yeah, because then David gets a letter from Paul that he had written before he passed away.
Yeah.
So that gives like David his kind of closure, and Paul just admitting that he did love him and he had his own demons and apologizing for that. Otis gets his whole closure with his old flame, who...
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of more of like... He finds out that he has a daughter at the beginning of the movie. So it's the embracing a new family type thing.
Yeah. And then Heidi gets money, like, funding for the Lamb project.
Mm-hmm. Otis's money goes to his family. Eddie's family, or money goes to his family. Storm and Norman's family gets the remains of Storm and Norman. Oh yeah, they find Storm and... Hey, we didn't talk about them finding Storm and Norman's remains.
I thought that was implied. They find Storm... They find him. That was a really cool scene, too.
That was a really powerful scene, too, yeah.
Because, we got distracted by the digging for gold mine situation.
That's right, yeah.
That was at the same time.
Yeah. And then I think it's implied that the rest of the money is given to, like, Black Lives Movement and other groups like that have been marginalized and whatnot.
Yeah, like they gave like $2 million to various charities and fundraisers and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then it ends on a really amazing, like one of Dr. King's most famous speeches. One that he gave that was like, I didn't know this, but like, I mean, he gave so many speeches, but like the one that they showed was literally exactly the year before he was assassinated, like to the day. Like they stated that they stated that, and it has, he brings up a Langston Hughes quote that is really fucking good.
Well, even what you're saying too about having that really powerful scene of Martin Luther King at the end and explaining that was everything like that too. There was just kind of, I know this is kind of like out of order and sorry, but even like just jumping back really quick, that scene where it's a flashback and they're hearing a Vietnam with the radio.
Oh yeah.
So like during the Vietnam War, they would play. The radio was a big like deal in this because also there was like it was auditory, like not propaganda but auditory demoralization, where since information, if you were out in the jungle and you were on a mission and you weren't really in communication with your base, you wouldn't hear certain things, and the Vietnamese put out a message about the assassination of Martin Luther King. And that kind of instills the whole point that Storm and Norman is like, look what they're doing to our people, and we're in the jungle. We don't even have any kind of fucking idea of what the war is happening at home right now, and we're stuck here.
Yeah,
I thought that was just a really like powerful scene too. It was very little happened. Like it was just their reaction to it because they're all just sitting around basically. Camping out, taking a break, and that was just a really great scene too. I was like, oh, they really knocked it out. This movie's definitely very enjoyable. I just felt like it was a little. I thought that's my only thing. I think this movie everyone should watch. I think it's really. I really enjoyed it. I just felt it was just a little too long, and I kind of just like I was saying earlier, feel like there are certain like themes and stories that they like. Put together that didn't totally meld and flush out perfectly, but saying that, I still think it was a really enjoyable movie.
No, it's very, very enjoyable movie. And actually, I remembered what I wanted to say with the Langston Hughes quote is because it's let America be America again, and which is very like it sounds very, very close to Make America Great Again, and how this movie like very much has a sense of like like a big awareness of where America is at as a group of people, you know. And what Langston Hughes and Martin Luther King are talking about is just like, and that whole like these black men were fighting for rights, for the rights of these people that they don't even really have at home, and America should be a place where everybody just has this freedom, you know.
Yeah, and it just like really points out how the African American community in all of America's wars have been treated less, not only in being sent to the front lines. They've been
first,
but then
definitely treated as cannon fodder.
Yeah, like, and then being treated that way overseas in various conflicts, or even, you know, and then even coming back, still not having those rights and still being treated as a second-class citizen. It just really, like, brings that to light in a way kind of specifically narrowed towards the military aspect that people, I feel like, forget a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely, I think, would go on the Tommy and Jacob watch list.
Oh, 100%. I really enjoyed it. I actually would want to give it higher than a 6.5 rating.
I would give it a higher than, I would say, definitely.
I would put it somewhere in the sevens, low sevens, like 7.2 or something. But yeah.
I was thinking 7.2. Yeah, like a 7.2.
Yeah. But yeah. The Five Bloods, directed by Spike Lee.
Yeah. So I think that's all. Is there anything last minute thing you wanted to cover?
Not that I could think of. Seeing Eddie's blown up body was kind of shocking and jarring. They don't shy away. They don't shy away from the violence in this movie.
No, they do not. That's something that we should point out. No, it was very.
Hey, at the end of the podcast, guys, a lot of violence. So.
It was very. What other movie had a very similar shot like that? Was it
Tropic Thunder?
Apocalypse? No, well, that's. I was trying to avoid that one. No, but it's Apocalypse Now or Platoon.
Platoon.
I can't remember which one it is. It's Platoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very Platoon, which also is what Tropic Thunder is like referencing.
Yes.
And we haven't had a Tropic Thunder. It's a Vietnam movie.
Is this number 3? Is that the third Tropic Thunder reference? What's our tally at?
I think it's 3.
That's 3? Okay.
Because we had 2 in one episode and then we stopped. Yeah, so that's 3.
All right. Remember, when we get to 10, we got to review it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's violent. It's good. Like we said, Delroy Lindo steals the show. He's phenomenal. Does. And Clarke Peters is really great as like the moral compass, trying to keep everyone calm and not ripping each other's throats out.
Mm-hmm.
So the Tommy and Jacob review is a 7.2.
So suck on that, IMDb.
Yeah, suck on that.
And sponsor us. Give us money.
While you suck on it. So I think that's all for us today.
We should definitely be wrapping it up, so.
Okay. So join us next time for a banter episode. We will finally be in the same studios, so it won't be weird, echoey on my part. Again, sorry, I don't have all the cool toys. I bought a microphone, but it didn't work. So
we'll see if we can get it to work. We'll figure shit out.
Okay.
Cool.
So
next week, just really quick, I do for you. Let's get all the WandaVision watched up that you can.
Okay.
So that'll kind of be, I think, maybe kind of a main focus. Like, since that'll be a spoiler one, we'll save that for the end of the episode. But we'll banter like we normally do.
We'll find some fun topics to chit chat about and keep you entertained.
So if you haven't subscribed or liked any things that we have, like, subscribe our stuff, share it with everybody. Make sure to check out the blog on the website.
Yes.
And please contact. If you have movie suggestions for us, we have an email and a contact on our website. So you can suggest things there. Don't suggest anything. Don't suggest
which
anything.
We would really love.
Yeah, we would love it, but don't suggest anything like a Serbian film or like The Room or no torture porn or anything like that.
Human Centipede.
I might want to do that actually.
Oh my god.
No, I'm joking. I'm kind of not joking.
We are a self-produced podcast, so all the content we come up with is just him and I, and we would love to hear from you folks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. That's Tommy's on the camera. And then now you say that I'm on a camera.
Oh.
So that
Jacob's on the camera.
this
is Tommy.
This is Jacob. This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
Tape. All right, bye guys.
Later.